Yeah, the late great David Foster Wallace, who used to teach just down the road from us, if you take Route 47, Illinois State University. And in fact, I'm proud to mention that I taught right alongside him just for a year, way back when. Wallace, Wallace laughed with Kafka. As he writes in this little late edition to your readings for the week, I don't really expect you to read it, but you're certainly welcome to. And I listed it on the website under content. He writes, another handicap, even for gifted students, is that unlike, say, Joyce's or Pound's, the exformative associations Kafka's work creates are not intertextual or even historical. Kafka's evocations are, rather, unconscious and almost sub-archetypal. The little kid stuff. The little kid stuff. You just read a little comic there, Calvin and Hobbes. The little kid stuff from which myths derive, those Kafka dreams. This is why we tend to call even his weirdest, most Kafka dreamiest stories nightmarish rather than surreal. Not to mention that the particular sort of funniness Kafka deploys is deeply alien to kids whose neural resonances are American. The fact is that Kafka's humor has almost none of the particular forms and codes of contemporary U.S. amusement. And Wallace goes on. I'm going to let you read the rest of his passage here on your own, right? And, just still stop the film, right? And read the rest of it if you'd like. It's actually a wonderful little comment. I think it's more a comment on, on us, on Americans, than it is a comment in American humor than I think it is a comment on Kafka. But I think you would find it very interesting. So I'm going to let you do that, and then please move on. Moving from laughing with Kafka or laughing with Wallace to sweating out this distinction between theme versus topic, which is an important one to, simple as it may seem, it's an important one to grasp conceptually and then, of course, to practice consistently. Burgett, quoting the Norton, Mays, no relation, quote, theme is a general idea or insight conveyed by the work in its entirety, spoken of as the theme with the definite article, quote, it is the overarching meaning of the story. It is not that a story has only one idea or meaning, as Adriana also notes. A theme is any idea work conveys, and there can be a few or there can be just one. But theme, as in the theme of X or Y, is more central or overarching and inclusive than the others. Though we sometimes say a theme, we tend to say the theme. But Mays the Norton is not yet done, as she continues, quote, though a theme is specific in a sense that it is a complete idea, a statement rather than a topic, it is nonetheless a general idea rather than one that describes a character's plot or settings unique to one story. Absolutely, another way of putting that distinction. For our business right now, for our purposes right now, let's just put that distinction this way. It's a distinction between topic and theme. The topic is what we get in hand when, moving beyond mere story, we have begun working out the plot. Oh, so this is what the story's about. It's about loneliness. On the other hand, the theme is what we have in hand when, having moved past mere story to plot, we have finished working out the plot. Oh, so this is what the story, plot, author, text is saying about or on the topic of loneliness. For example, so yeah, here's that distinction. The topic is what the story is about. The theme is what it says about what it is about. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. The topic is what the story is about. It's a general issue or idea, although I got to watch your word issue because that comes up later on. The topic is what the story is about. It is that topical or subject space or realm that is specified by the story, right? And many of you nailed that when you asked the question of theme. You were talking about topic most of the time, and you did a wonderful job of specifying what that topic was, what that subject was, the subject of the story. The story is about loneliness, for example, right? But if we're going to talk properly about theme and I think most lucidly about theme, we're going to specify what the story says about, for example, loneliness, if that's what it is about. What is the general point? This goes back to what Mays was saying, right? The general idea. Rather than one that describes the character's plot or settings unique to any one story, the general idea that might fit more than one story, okay, is one way to think about this. That's what you're talking about when you're talking about theme. Now, as you can tell, I think it's very easy to confuse theme and topic. One could argue that even many dictionaries do so. So you're in good company if you tend to think of a theme as a topic, okay? This is not uncommon. It's just not as helpful when you're actually in a literary critical classroom to do so, right? Collins' dictionary, for example, the subject or topic is one meaning of theme. Collins is correct that the term is sometimes used in this broader sense, and so are you if you have been doing it in such a way. But in most specifically literary distinction, or rather discussion, the distinction holds. Note, for example, in Norton's insistence that in equating theme with subject or topic, you are using the term very loosely. Now, note how Adriana ends her contribution by eschewing such loose usage, having worked through the plot a bit. This is why I believe the main theme of the Metamorphosis is responsibility duty that forces one into a personal metamorphosis. I know at first that sounds a little bit as though Adriana is just stating a topic, right? But all you have to do is the slightest little friendly emendation. You just get rid of that. And you say responsibility duty forces one into a personal metamorphosis. See that general idea? That's the general idea. That is the theme as Adriana has constructed it here at the end of her contribution. What is Kafka in this story saying about or on the topic of responsibility or duty? He's saying that it may force a change, and a harmful one. We're used to thinking of duty as a virtuous thing to do. Kafka says, yes, often enough it is, but note how an uncritical devotion to duty, such as I think we have in the case of Gregor, a heedless acceptance of responsibility, as we have in the case of Gregor, that can be disastrous. We see the disastrous outcome of such undue acceptance and devotion to duty and responsibility. Now, it's very easy to state a topic and feel we have covered the theme. Again, this is the most natural thing in the world to do, and I don't blame you for doing it. I would just like to encourage you to begin using these terms, theme and topic, okay, differentially, with theme covering this more general idea, topic covering the, the subject is the simplest way to put that, right? Don't confuse theme with topic. Topic means subject. Theme means the idea about the subject, the general idea about the subject that is conveyed, communicated by the story. Lance, quote, the theme of the novella explores the human longing for acceptance and connection. Very good statement of topic, such as what the story may be about, that human longing. But what is the story saying about such human longing? A statement of that, a statement of such, would be a statement of its theme. Parker, I think the theme is isolation and abandonment. Again, that's what the story is about. But what does the story say about what it is about? What is Case saying about human isolation, abandonment? Jasmine, I believe that the theme revolves around self-reflection and confinement. Excellent, but a friendly amendment. One of the main topics is such. Nathan offers a nice exploration of the many changes we encounter as we read this work. Kafka, he argues, quote, shows the impact of what such changes can do to people. Note how close Nathan here comes to a proper statement of theme. The book is about change, that is its topic, change, a change of responsibilities, and a change of individuals as well. Its theme, on the other hand, such change has an impact, a certain impact, one which does things to people. Topic and theme in the Metamorphoses continued. Obviously, we've already begun to explore these questions. Let me add to what's been said already, though. I didn't mention Noah in the previous plate, and I thought his sense of the topic, or at least one topic, is that of family, was very illuminating. Its toxicity, as a student in a different section puts it. Noah doesn't use that term, but I think he might as well have, as we will see. As a student in the other section put it, it's an extremely sad case that we have here of a family turning on their own because he can no longer fit the perception and responsibility they forced upon him. You'll notice how this dovetails with some comments made in the previous plate. Family love appears to have fled and been replaced by a forced, deliberate patience. To put the point in properly thematic terms, might we say that Kafka, offers a harsh critique of the family as a social unit prone to, quote, turning on its own, when its own, whether son, mother, husband, wife, or, as in this case, brother, fails to perform his assigned duty, fails even to be the person they require him to be. To put it more pithily, families all too often eat their own. Talk about a dark, dark theme one has to mention in passing. Noah, working through the plot, quote, Gregor's family had relied on his income for quite a while to get by because his father had accrued a lot of debt. I mean, this story is very attentive to material necessity, to the financial situation of the family is something that is scrutinized throughout the story by the remorselessly attentive narrator, which gets us into questions of point of view that I don't think we're really going to get to in this micro lecture, despite my having mentioned that as a possible topic in the opening plate, but let's go. Some could argue that his family exploited him, Gregor's family exploited him to get by, and used him for his money. However, he stayed devoted to his family despite being in this dire situation of having become a gigantic insect. Gregor was not focused on his problem, rather he focused on how his family would get by without his income. Could his sister and father make an income to support the family? How was his mother to earn I lost my spot here, a living with her asthma, which troubled her even when she walked through the flat. Prior to this, quote, Gregor had earned so much money that he was able to meet the expenses of the whole household, and did so. This is where some might make the argument that Gregor's family exploited him. He covered every expense his family had, but once he is metamorphosed, he is in need, right, due to turning into this giant bug. What happens? He's isolated, he's mistreated, eventually he's forgotten. Eventually his family wanted to be rid of him entirely, we'll recall, right? Remember the daughter, right, Greta, right? You got to get over the idea that is Gregor. This is said at one point. It's a painful moment. This story really shows just how devoted Gregor was to the well-being of his family, only for it to not be reciprocated when he needed his family most. So again, that sort of toxicity of families, and it's the way in which the group of the family might turn upon one of its members rather harshly. Thus the challenge, formulate what Noah's just said in terms of theme. And I leave that to you, having provided a provisional formulation of my own. Okay, topic and theme in the Hunger Artist ad, which also attracted a number of very nice contributions. Asia notes a lack of understanding and isolation was unusually the dominant topic mentioned by you. A lack of understanding and isolation on display. Maggie concurs. Quote, a common theme I found was isolation, suffering, and sacrifice. As does Alex. Alex too concurs. In Franz Kafka's The Hunger Artist, the main theme is isolation. The Hunger Artist, our main character, who is a joke among the town's elders for his art of fasting for 40 days at a time, is misunderstood by everyone. Everyone suspects he is sneaking food. Asia, quote, everybody believes that he's lying about fasting and that he has been eating throughout his 40-day fast. As the assigned watchers intentionally turn a blind eye to him, which actually makes the Hunger Artist sad because he's the only one satisfied. No one could possibly watch. This is a quote from the story itself. No one could possibly watch the Hunger Artist continuously, day and night, and so no one could produce first-hand evidence that the fast had really been rigorous and continuous. Only the artist himself, the lonely artist himself, could know that, and he was therefore bound to be the sole completely satisfied spectator of his own fast. You can see the loneliness here of the long-distance artist. His sense of being, as Jocelyn writes, quote, misunderstood and unappreciated by the public. Yet the fault, according to Kafka, because for a moment there you might think, okay, it's the public. That's what this is about. And I think that some of you may even have written about this, right? That the public, in fact, is one of the targets of Kafka's critique and Kafka's irony in this story because the public is so fickle, right? So you feel that it's one of its targets. The fault, according to Kafka, though, lies less with this unappreciative audience and fickle audience than with the artist himself. Jocelyn asserts this, quote, the theme, and here we get a proper statement of theme as opposed to a statement of topic. The theme is that of the destructive desire to be seen and appreciated, and how that can result, that destructive desire to be seen and appreciated, can result in diminishing one's self-worth by striving toward an unattainable goal. The artist's problem is that he cannot rest with being, quote, the sole satisfied spectator of his art. He needs an audience. His self-satisfaction depends upon others. His essential love of self is so minimal that it takes the applause of others to remind him that he matters. When this goes away, or is taken away, quote, dies feeling insignificant. Maggie, unlike the panther who replaces him, who, quote, just cares about and enjoys the food it is eating, the artist, quote, thrives off people's attention. Once he no longer receives that, his feeling of isolation grows until he dies. Adriana, indeed, quote, the panther liked the food so much, the animal didn't miss his freedom. And I thought it was very interesting how a number of you got into this, the business with the panther, and paid exemplary attention to this ending of the story, which doesn't call that much attention to itself, but I think really is a significant part of the story. The panther cares about freedom, one could argue, only insofar as it enables him to procure food. With food provided, he doesn't care about freedom. He's in the tank, he's in the cage, and he doesn't seem to feel the enclosure of the bars once he's fed. I think here we move into new thematic territory. It takes us a little bit away, although we may come back to the issue or topic, the topic of the way we're using our terms so carefully, right? The topic of isolation. We move into a new thematic territory here. Is not the panther a slave to his own appetite? Think about that for a moment. The panther is a slave to his own appetite. Only when that appetite is satisfied can he feel happy. It rules him, that appetite. Only when free from hunger does he feel free. And every time he is freed from that hunger, he feels free. Even when he's not free, but caged. That's a test of it, isn't it? Right? That even when he's in the cage, when the hunger is sated, when it is satisfied, he feels free, even though he's not free. The artist is, as Jocelyn says, and I thought this was very interesting, the opposite. He feels free from a sense of worthlessness, this business up above about self-worth, that makes him depend upon an audience for admiration of himself. He feels free. That is the same as an incipient sense of worthlessness, isn't it? That requires, shall we say, the assurance of others that you are worthy. He feels free from his own incipient sense of worthlessness in unappreciated isolation. Only when hungry, okay, as opposed to when fed. And he can be hungry in the only way that matters, which means make a spectacle of his hunger, only when locked in a cage, which is to say not free. You can see all these ironies and complications and complexities and paradoxes. The upshot is that the artist's hunger for admiration is as fully enslaving as is the panther's hunger for food. The irony is that the hunger he depends upon and must stoke to satisfy his hunger for admiration, it's the most natural thing in the world, bizarrely. For naturally, at an animal level, just as the animal, the panther, likes food, he dislikes the food. He dislikes anything that could possibly satisfy his animal hunger. Now, what does this do for our sense of what happens and what sense to make of the story when we take it as a whole and try to arrive at, as we say, not a theme, but the theme of the story? Well, this is an important little detail and judgment to make, perhaps. The hunger artist doesn't deserve the admiration which he gets in those successful moments of hunger artistry. He doesn't deserve whatever admiration he gets, which he's not getting anymore by the end of the story, as we know. Even when he was a very popular hunger artist and he got a lot of admiration, he didn't deserve it, right? And this is the admiration that he needs if he's going to be free, if he's even going to live. Without that admiration, he cannot be free, he cannot live. But this is what's strange. Even in those moments when he gets that admiration, right, he's shadowed by something. The admiration he craves, when obtained, is shadowed by the awareness that he is not really admirable. Okay, you got that? I mean, this is heady material, isn't it? Kafka is complex and it's a bit of a conundrum, and I think it's very fascinating and extremely intellectually rich. The admiration he craves, when obtained, is shadowed by the awareness that he is not really admirable. Why? Well, back to isolation, that topic and the theme that accompanies it. Our beloved artist, this is Naya, felt, even with the masses of crowds that came to see him every day, that no one truly understood him or why he was doing what he was doing. Even when most successful, rather precisely when most successful in his hunger strikes, right, in his exercise in hunger, his secret self-contempt must stir the strongest because, after all, he knows that it's not difficult for him to fast. It's not a problem for him to fast. He doesn't like eating. It's natural. It's instinctive for him not to eat, since he's disgusted by food, as it is for the panther to eat, the panther loving food. So therefore, even in those moments when he's most winning of admiration due to his resistance of hunger, Well, he's not really resisting hunger because he's not hungry, right? And you know why he's not hungry? Because he can't stand eating anything. So the whole thing is a, you know, tower of cards that collapses. And to put this a little bit, maybe with a little bit more critical formalcy, as Adriana puts it, quote, the dissatisfaction of his fasting perpetuates his alienation towards his audience. Indeed, I would add a friendly emendation to what Adriana just said, it perpetuates his self-alienation as well. Finally, let's introduce a third term for the week, really a fourth term. Theme, topic, issue. The theme, one theme of the Metamorphosis, Kafka's topic being change, or the human ability to manage change, more specifically. His theme is that ability is severely, shockingly limited. We are much less able to handle change than most of us think. We often do not handle change well. We resist it and then it overwhelms. We don't so much change as wake up and find that we have changed. I'm, of course, repeating some statements from the previous plates. That's the theme. What's the topic? I've already said it, but I'll say it again. Named by one of you, but implied by others, change. Prominent throughout the story was transformation. That's the topic, change. What is the issue? Well, whether or not we can well manage change. That's a good way to put the issue in a whether or not statement. The issue of the story is a question of the story with respect to its topic, what it is about. What does it ask about what it is about? Theme is the answer to that question. It is what it says about what it is about. The topic here being changed, the question here, the issue is, can we accept, deal with it, survive it? That's the issue. That is the issue that the story deals with. It's the issue of, and notice how it's put in a question in interrogative form, or by way of whether or not, by way of a whether or not statement, has to do with change. Whether or not we can manage change well. Or can we manage change well? Can we manage change at all? That's a statement of issue as opposed to a statement of either topic or theme. The topic here being changed, the question here, the issue is, can we accept, deal with it, survive it? The topic being changed, the issue is whether we can accept it or whether humans have, according to Kafka, a fundamental dislike of change. Whether when things are at all satisfactory, we'd like them to stay that way, to stay just the way they are, perhaps even ignoring or avoiding and certainly not rising to the challenge of opportunities for self-improvement. Statements of issue often take the form of questions, as I just mentioned, or, as I mentioned, the form of a whether or not statement, which is really a kind of sentence fragment, but that's okay when you're stating an issue. Statements of issue often take the form of questions. A good way to formulate an issue is by way of the formula, whether or not X is, eats, hates, loves, influences, has X connection to, what have you. Why? Whether or not something is something else, or is something something else? That's the question, the interrogative form, as opposed to the whether or not form. Well, this is something we're going to be going back to. It's really pretty fundamental, these distinctions, but they're very important, I think, to a clear and consistent discussion of literature. And they are fundamental building blocks of literary critical discussion. It's to understand the difference between an issue, a topic, and a theme. So they're not going to go away, these blocks. We're going to be building on them throughout the semester, as you will be throughout your careers as undergraduate English majors. I regret that we didn't get around to questions of point of view. I never intended to, of course, because this is already an over 20-minute micro lecture, but I wanted to say that I thought the respondents to the questions on point of view did a splendid job and will be profiting from your insights in the coming weeks, because in fact, we're going back to point of view this coming week, even though there won't be a video this coming week. I think that there may be a video. There will certainly be some commentary and some questions about point of view in the future, and we'll have a chance then to profit from some of your insights. So that's it for today. Take care.